That's right, you read that correctly. Sinful Brand is dead starting in Dragonflight. But Sinful Brand is more than just one ability. It's an entire playstyle that Havoc Demon Hunters were forced into in 9.2, and truthfully, most of the Havoc community absolutely hated playing with it. Now, before you pull out your party hats and start celebrating, there are some further implications from this blue post that we need to read over and understand, because this does go a little bit deeper than just removing an ability. So let's talk about it.
Have you ever wanted to analyze your group's Mythic Plus or Raid but felt overwhelmed by the endless charts, graphs, and numbers? Squad OV takes watching a VOD to a whole new level with so many useful features, you'll wonder how you ever lived without it. Squad OV is nuts, guys. It records all your dungeons, raids, and even arenas automatically without having to push a single button, and then provides you with easy to read data, stats, spell visualizations, and more, which you can view anywhere from the Squad OV app. Ever wonder why you died during a pull? With Squad OV, you can immediately find your death on the timeline, run back the tape, and watch it again for yourself.
Frankly, that's a skill issue.
It even tells you exactly what abilities you were hit by at that very moment. Best of all, you can register as a squad and see the perspective of your teammates for a broader understanding of the encounter. If you ever wanted to take the next step to improve your gameplay, Squad OV is the best tool on the market. Check out the link in the description to use Squad OV completely free.
Okay, so let's start by reading the blue post and going from there. First, we largely view this as a preferred playstyle issue and not a balance one. Upon reviewing balance across all content formats, we didn't see any reason to make changes to Havoc specifically. So I think what they're referring to here is that from what they've heard and seen, people simply prefer the playstyle of other covenants compared to Venthyr. And I think while this is mostly true, the majority of players will agree that they like the gameplay of Night Fae better, but there are still some balance issues comparing Venthyr and Night Fae. I'm not sure what numbers they're looking at to come to these conclusions that Havoc couldn't use a bit of help, but anyone who's played it in Raid or Mythic Plus will tell you otherwise. Like, sure, maybe there's some bias there when your niche is supposed to be consistent heavy single target damage, but other classes who don't specialize in that area are easily surpassing you on the meters. There's clearly something wrong. This is even apparent in Mythic Plus, where, obviously you have survivals and warlocks finishing with insane overalls, but you also have outlier classes like shamans easily achieving 20k and up, and meanwhile Havoc is, lucky to breach 17 or 18k. And yes, I fully understand that every class can't be the best or good at everything, but at this point Havoc has essentially lost all of its identity, right? Every role that it used to excel at, it no longer does. And things that were actually intended to do, like single target damage, we do in a very mediocre way in comparison to others. But anyways, let's keep reading. Second, the primary issue is that we're hearing that some players do not enjoy the playstyle of maintaining Sinful Brand uptime through I-Beam. We don't think this point of the expansion is the appropriate time to disrupt players that have made significant investment into playing Havoc this way. However, we acknowledge the feedback you're giving and will be sure not to bring this particular gameplay forward into Dragonflight. So something to point out here is the line, players do not enjoy the playstyle of maintaining Sinful Brand uptime through I-Beam. It's not just Sinful Brand itself, it's all the other pieces of the puzzle that make this playstyle exist, right? So that's, our Covenant legendary effect, our Collective Anguish or Dark Glare legendaries, Cycle of Hatred, which plays a big factor and is probably one of the most problematic pieces, by the way. And then finally, the ability itself. So you take one of those pieces away and the build suddenly falls apart. The other problem with this playstyle is that it just completely minimizes the amount of buttons we press, right? You're forced away from using Blade Dance and you're really only left with building, spending, and I-Beam, which also feels bad due to the target cap. We've done some more research and it does indeed have a drop off beyond one target. It's pathetic. It just feels bad that the majority of our damage comes from a Borrowed Power Covenant ability. I'm not mad that Sinful Brand is being removed. Don't get me wrong, but I do think that there may have been some ways to fix it. Something like making Cycle of Hatred include Blade Dance along with Chaos Strike. This would make the playstyle a lot less limiting, while also making it so that our 2-piece tier bonus isn't only half effective. Changing how an entire talent works is a drastic step for a final maintenance mode patch of an expansion, I get it. So I fully understand them not wanting to make any broad changes, especially with a brand new talent tree on the horizon. However, I do think Havoc could use some help this patch in some form or another. roll back the damage output of Brand and increase the damage of our base abilities. Something to at least bring us a little closer in line with Night Fae, so if you truly hate the Venthyr playstyle, you could switch and still do decently. Which brings me to my next point. What do they mean by disrupt players that have made significant investment into playing Havoc this way? What investment? Everyone already had Collective Anguish. Everyone already had Dark Glare. Everyone already had a Unity piece, which is completely flexible. Switching Covenants is instant now, and you immediately start at rank 60. I'm failing to see where the investment is. Even if there was some form of investment, I can promise you any player would gladly put in whatever work was needed to swap off a Venthyr and play something more fun, if it was viable. Venthyr isn't the preferred playstyle because we like it. It's the preferred playstyle because it exceeds any other option and it's forced us into taking it. Listen, I think it's great that they're listening to us now, they're providing feedback, there's actually some communication here. But I feel like only half of the public sentiment was understood with this. Yes, people don't like the current playstyle of Sinful Brand, but we were forced into it, it was boring, and it's just completely unsatisfying to play. The problem runs deeper than that though. All of the above might be tolerable to some people to some extent if the damage output was higher to compromise. But for Season 4, it looks like we are stuck playing with the playstyle we don't enjoy, and we're stuck doing laughable damage that is sometimes barely higher than the tanks. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk, and I'll catch you next time. Peace.